What happens when a woman's worst nightmare becomes a public spectacle? When the man who promised forever shows up with someone new and her world literally collapses? This is Sarah's story.
You did this to
A
me!
story of
I didn't know,
betrayal,
I swear!
survival,
Lie
and the
and left
strength
me!
you never knew you had. Stay until the end because what happens next will leave you speechless. And if you've ever felt invisible, this one's for you. The restaurant Celestia glowed like a jewel 50 floors above Manhattan. Sarah Mitchell stood at the entrance, her 7-month pregnant belly pressing against her simple cotton dress. The maitre d', a man whose suit cost more than her monthly rent, looked at her with barely concealed disdain. "I'm sorry, madam, but we're fully booked, and there is a dress code." Sarah's hand instinctively moved to her belly. "I'm not here to eat. I need to speak to my husband, Michael Mitchell. I know he's here." The word husband felt like glass in her mouth. Ex-husband, technically. The divorce had been finalized 3 weeks ago, the same day her health insurance was canceled. The same day she'd received the letter that brought her here, desperate and humiliated. The maitre d's eyes flickered toward a corner table. Sarah's breath caught. There he was, Michael, her Michael. Except he wasn't hers anymore. He sat across from a woman who couldn't be older than 25, all glossy hair and emerald silk. A woman wearing the diamonds that should have been on Sarah's finger. They were laughing, his hand covering hers on the white tablecloth. Something inside Sarah shattered. She pushed past the maitre d'. Michael. The restaurant went silent. 100 pairs of eyes turned toward her, the pregnant woman in the cheap dress disrupting their expensive evening. Michael's face drained of color. The young woman, Olivia something or other, stared with her perfect mouth falling open. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" Michael's voice was low, dangerous. Not the voice of the man who'd once read her poetry in bed. This was the voice of a stranger. "They canceled my insurance, Michael, our baby." Sarah's voice cracked. "She needs prenatal care. I went to the billing department today and they said you personally signed the authorization to remove me from the company policy." "This isn't the place," he hissed, standing up. "Then where is the place?" Sarah's hands trembled. "You won't answer my calls. Your assistant screens your emails." "Where exactly am I supposed to go when the father of my child leaves me with nothing?" Whispers rippled through the restaurant like wildfire. Olivia stood up, her face flushed with anger. "Michael, who is this woman?" But Sarah never heard his answer. The room began to spin. The lights blurred into streaks of gold. Her hand reached for the table, grasping air. Then darkness. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and broken dreams. Sarah woke to the steady thump, thump, thump of her daughter's heartbeat on the monitor, a sound that meant everything was still okay. The baby was safe. She turned her head and saw him. Michael sat in a plastic chair by the door, his expensive suit wrinkled, his tie loose. He looked older than she remembered, tired. "The doctor said it was stress-induced," he said quietly. "Your blood pressure dropped. You can go now." Sarah's voice was flat, emotionless. A survival mechanism she'd perfected over the past 6 months. "I didn't know about the insurance. I swear I didn't." "Stop." Sarah sat up straighter, her hand on her belly. "You don't get to do this. You don't get to show up here and play the concerned husband when you stopped being my husband the day you told me you felt trapped. Trapped by me, trapped by her." She looked down at her belly. "By our daughter." Michael flinched. "Sarah, do you know what the worst part is?" Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper. "I blamed myself. When you left, I thought I wasn't enough, not pretty enough, not exciting enough, not young enough." She looked directly at him. "But lying here, listening to her heartbeat, I realized something. The problem was never me, it was you. You confused love with ownership, marriage with possession. You wanted a wife who was an accessory, not a partner." The words hung in the air between them, true and unforgiving. "I came here tonight because I was desperate," Sarah continued. "Because I was scared, because even after everything you did, some stupid part of me still believed you'd care, that your daughter needs a doctor." She shook her head. "But I don't need you to care anymore. I went to legal aid today. They're helping me apply for Medicaid. I will figure it out on my own. I always do." Michael stood up, his hands shaking. "Let me fix this. I'll reinstate the insurance. No." Sarah's voice was steel. You don't get to fix this with money. You want to be a father? Prove it. Not with a check, but with your presence. Not with a grand gesture, but with showing up. Every day. For her, not for me. Never for me again, for her. He stood there, speechless, as Sarah turned her face to the window, dismissing him without another word. 3 months later, Sarah sat in her small Brooklyn apartment, the February sun streaming through the windows. Her daughter, Grace, slept in her arms, wrapped in a soft, yellow blanket. She was 2 weeks old and more beautiful than anything Sarah had ever seen. Michael had started therapy. He'd sold his penthouse. He'd taken a leave from his company. He followed every rule in the parenting plan Sarah's lawyer had drafted. He showed up for supervised visits, awkward and unsure, but he showed up. Sarah didn't know if she'd ever forgive him. Forgiveness felt like too much to ask of herself right now. But she was learning something more important than forgiveness. She was learning her own strength. She looked around her tiny apartment. The second-hand furniture, the cheerful yellow nursery she'd painted herself. The painting easel in the corner, a gift from Michael that she'd finally started using again, creating art while Grace napped, reclaiming the parts of herself she'd lost. This wasn't the life she'd planned, but it was real. It was hers, and it was enough. Grace stirred in her arms, her tiny fist curling around Sarah's finger with surprising strength. "We're going to be okay, baby girl," Sarah whispered. "We're going to be more than okay." And for the first time since that terrible night at Celestia, Sarah believed it. This isn't just Sarah's story. It's the story of every woman who's been told she wasn't enough. Every woman who's had to rebuild herself from the wreckage of someone else's choices. Every woman who found the strength she never knew she had. If you're watching this and you've ever felt invisible, discarded, or broken, remember Sarah. Remember that your worth isn't defined by who stays or who leaves. It's defined by how you rise. Hit that like button if Sarah's courage inspired you. Subscribe because we share stories of real strength, real resilience, and real hope. And comment below, what would you have said to Michael in that hospital room? Your story matters. Your strength matters. You matter. Until next time, remember, you're stronger than you know.